All right, and we are back. I'm Dennis Neal, substituting for Steve Malzberg. Very good to be here with you. Longtime journalist, 6 years on CNBC and then Fox Business, but now, for today anyway, Newsmax. And we got a good panel coming up for you. We've got with us Rick Ungar. He has his own radio show on SiriusXM. He's also kind of the House liberal at my old alma mater, Forbes magazine. He does good work every weekend on Forbes on Fox. And we've got the ubiquitous and often bow-tied economist from the University of Maryland, Peter Morici, is joining us today. Thank you for being with us, gentlemen. And what I wanted to talk to you about is the limits of government power. Are there any? My gosh, it seems like government has taken more power than it ever has before. And yet, at the same time, it seems like government often today is powerless. Powerless to rescue those girls in Nigeria. Powerless to fix the VA problems. So first, let's start with Rick Ungar. And tell us, Rick, what do you think so far of the VA scandal, and in particular, President Obama's handling of it?
Well, look, I mean, I think I was the first person identified as a Democrat to write that I thought Shinseki had to go. I think the scandal is obscene. The thing that's most obscene, what we saw in Phoenix and what we're now hearing is going to be happening, we're going to see in other hospitals around the country, that's a scandal. But the real scandal is that the president has been in office nearly 6 years. He campaigned on this in 2008. That actually meant something to me. When I heard his speeches about what he was going to do to finally fix the VA, that had an impact on me. 6 years later, he's sending his top guy to go and do yet another report. This is unacceptable. You cannot be an extraordinary country if this is the way you treat your veterans.
Yeah, Peter, I think President Obama's management weaknesses are really showing up here yet again.
Absolutely. He's been a terrible CEO, and I've written about this. We can debate, my colleague and I, how much the government should do, but what it does do, it needs to do well. This isn't even a situation where it's trying to intervene in market processes. It's a matter of just running a government agency well. And as someone who's managed inside the government, I know what he's up against. The Democrats have created an environment in the federal bureaucracy such that it can't function. Every conceivable workers' right that could ever be applied in the private sector has been imposed on federal managers. It's virtually impossible to get anything done. And this is a clear example. And this is why the government needs to do less overall, because it can't get its assignments done. It can't hand in its homework.
Peter, we just heard Rick say that he called for the resignation of the VA chief. And yet sometimes it seems to me when scandals like this break, is it really the CEO's fault, or is it the fault of every, chief of staff at every single hospital that's been implicated? Do you think we gain anything by firing the top guy beyond just a headline?
Oh, I think that we might gain something. After all, he's been there quite a while. But I think it would be more important to reach down and expose how difficult it is to accomplish any kind of change. I encountered that as chief economist of the United States International Trade Commission. I had a lot of people that really weren't doing what they needed to do. And it was very, very hard, given all the levers that they had at their disposal, to get them to work for a living. And moreover, the political appointees, they were busy working their Rolodexes trying to get better jobs. They were disinterested in getting a better product. It's very, very difficult for a competent manager, and I've managed very successfully in the private sector, quite apart from being a professor. And it's very, very difficult to implement change unless your political masters are willing to go along. In this case, that's Barack Obama. But he wants to police organized labor, and that would create a
Rick, go ahead and get in here, Rick.
A couple quick things to what Peter said. First, the reason that I thought that Shinseki needs to go, nothing against him. This is a fine guy. He was a great general. Nothing but respect for the guy. But you know what? There are different skills a CEO has to have. Some are good at managing, some are good at upending an organization, rebooting it, and getting it going again. That's what we need in the VA. I do want to comment on something Peter said about big versus small government. This debate, in my opinion, is wrongly crafted. It's not about big versus small, it's about effective versus non-effective. You cannot have, and this goes to your original question, Dennis, you cannot have an effective government when Congress and the White House cannot work together on anything. Pick who you want to blame. I'm probably more inclined to blame the Republicans in Congress. Peter pointed out that he feels the Democrats are to blame. Pick whoever you want to blame, but there's no changing the fact that if the White House and the Congress cannot work together, and we've never seen it be much worse, you can't possibly have an effective government.
Right. You know, I get your point, Rick, but I think that there's the bipartisan bickering isn't why some 18 hospitals in the VA system are accused or suspected
To some extent
of bearing their waiting list. In fact, we have a soundbite that the Newsmax crew has queued up here. Take a look at Megyn Kelly, good friend of mine. They're over on Fox News, and the frustration evident as she points out that even the president personally knew about these problems. Congress knew about these problems long ago. Give a listen.
Flash forward to May of 2012. The Senate holds a hearing. The Senate holds a hearing on the problematic long, ridiculously long waits for care at VA facilities. Listen to this witness.
Like many VA medical centers, the overriding objective at our facility, from top management on down, was to meet our numbers, meaning to meet our performance. The goal was to see as many veterans as possible, but not necessarily to provide them the treatment they needed.
Democratic Senator Patty Murray followed up that hearing with a bill, specifically calling for policy changes to address how VA employees were playing games with the wait lists. It passed. President Obama signed it. Seemingly nothing happened.
A lot of moral outrage working up there, Peter. So even when politicians know about a problem coming up, they still don't get it fixed. What lesson do you draw from this, sir?
Well, they need to change the way federal managers can interact with their employees. They had to be able to fire people, and they have to be able to set reasonable standards for employee performance and productivity. And you really can't do that inside the federal bureaucracy. Once you have tenure, it's virtually impossible. It's like the professor that falls asleep during his lectures. All the dean can do is ask him not to snore. It's worse than that, managing inside the federal bureaucracy. I can tell you that from hard experience.
Yes, and Rick, I know you pointed out that actually the VA will get some extra power to fire, but even when we try to fix something, look at how the Democrats are opposing some of those changes because it would be against union rules, and unions support the Democrats. All right, we're going to be coming right back, guys. Let us know what you think about today's hot topics. Follow us on Twitter at @NewsmaxTV or @Dennis Steele. Comment on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Newsmax. We'll be right back.